am a cop, and you will respect my authority!
Adult animation is a dime a dozen nowadays, which isn't a bad thing. There's some fun and creative stuff to find if you know where to look. But back in the ye olden times of the 1980s, there was hardly any good animation for adults. Almost all of it was made by Hanna-Barbera, and if it wasn't the Flintstones, the Grim Reaper was already outside its door. That is, until the knight in shining jaundice appeared, The Simpsons! Somehow, The Simpsons was popping off like no show before it. It became one of, if not the most popular show on Fox. And it was competing with the #1 show at the time, How to Catch a Predator, The Cosby Show. As is the law with anything popular, every clown on the street was presenting themselves to you for money. Every single clown was doing it in the 90s. MTV, ABC, CBS, and hell, even the entire United States of America was helicoptering its massive cock for your enjoyment. Most of these shows would die off fast because the networks realized that animation took forever and cost too much money to make. Some shows had a better run than others, but the most memorable ones were the ones that are still going to this day. Shows like The Simpsons, Family Guy, and the one that relates to this video, South Park. For those out of the loop, South Park is that one show loved by edgy teens, 30 to 40-year-old divorced men, fucking weird Tumblr users with no shame or dignity, and Despicable Me 3 fans. It's well known for its offensive humor, being topical, making an episode poking fun at mobile games and then making a mobile game months later, and for its crude papercraft art style. I had a phase with this show once. It was in 7th grade, and if I could find it, you should see the only South Park related thing I drew on screen now. This phase is also the reason I own this game. That and the fact that Kid Icarus reviewed the PS1 version of the game ages ago.
You can't see anything!
What you're seeing right now is the PC version of South Park. The game was developed by Iguana Entertainment and published by Klaymen in 1998 for the Nintendo 64 and 1999 for the PC and PS1 versions, with the PS1 port being handled by Appaloosa Interactive. There was also going to be a Sega Dreamcast and Game Boy Color port of the game. The Game Boy Color port was going to be handled by Crawfish Interactive, which would have followed the style of their other games like The New Adventures of Mary-Kate and Ashley and Maya the Bee and Her Friends. The game was canned, however, due to South Park's creators, Matt Stone and Trey Parker, deeming this little translucent block as being geared towards children. Hey guys, maybe it's a bit late to start thinking about system demographics now, don't you think? Iguana Entertainment got their start porting games to home consoles. They would develop Arrow the Acrobat 1 and 2 and its possibly kinda racist spin-off, Zero the Kamikaze Squirrel. By 1995, the company would be acquired by Acclaim and continue to make sports games up until 1997, where they would make one of their most well-known games, Turok: Dinosaur Hunter. It was an FPS game for the N64 based off of the comic books by Valiant Comics. Funnily enough, they too were a subsidiary of Acclaim, being branded as Acclaim Comics for a short while until Acclaim went bankrupt in 2004. It was reviewed pretty well for its time, with the N64 version generally scoring higher than its PC port. But before they created the sequel to Turok, they created South Park first so that the game would coincide with the movie. South Park: Bigger, Longer, and Uncut. You would think this game would be good because the last time the devs made an FPS, they did a good job, right? Well, it did okay on the N64 with a generally, it's alright reception. Then when it left the loving care of Mama N64's house and into the real world, it got fucking shot. It was like it went from whatever's next to Detroit into Detroit. Nobody on PC and PS1 wanted anything to do with this game. And seeing what the bar for FPS games was on those platforms, it was obvious why it was panned. It was said to be repetitive, boring, and not very unique. But does it still suck years later? Well, kinda, but we should probably look at the game first. The game comes inside of a jewel case with the words "Official PC Game" written across the top, and a warning sticker that's actually just a part of the box art. Around back, the game claims that with the new cow launcher, people will respect your authority. Well, I mean, yeah, people tend to respect your authority when you point a gun at them. The inside of the case contains the game on one CD-ROM, as well as 2 copies of the box art instead of a manual. The game originally was a part of a big box, but the person on eBay I bought this from a while ago only had the case and the CD. Kinda off topic, but isn't it really cool how jewel case games usually had manuals double as box art? Don't know why, but the double utility these served is just really cool to me. Anyway, this game was a bitch to get running and recording for me, but I managed to make it work by running it in 640 by 480 with reduced colors. But recording was a whole different issue entirely. So usually I like to have a dual monitor setup where my drawing tablet shows the recording software so that I can see if everything is running smoothly. But once the game starts up, it takes top priority over everything else like a fucking child, not allowing you to Alt-Tab, take your mouse off the screen, and best of all, when you try to Control-Alt-Delete, it just fucking crashes the game straight up. Also, what you're seeing right now is a very zoomed in version of what was recorded. I could see the game just fine when I was playing, but the OBS recorded the game in a tiny window at the corner of the screen. The game starts off with a cutscene that explains the basic plot. A meteor from the skybox we call space is headed towards South Park. Not crashing on, just headed towards. Starting up a new game, you'll be asked to pick between the 4 main kids, Cartman, Kyle, Stan, and Kenny. The fact that they're standing at the bus stop where the early episodes of the show start is a nice touch. Also, like the early episodes, the chef appears in his station wagon to talk to the boys about the meteor. Once the game starts, holy Jesus Christ, that sensitivity! Hold up, let me just turn that down real quick. Wait, where's the slider? Okay, I guess I'll just click on it. What? Why? Why do I have to click several times just to turn the sensitivity down? You could easily put arrows or a slider here. And for some reason the menu background is just Cartman's face from the box art, a little transparent. He knows what you look up when your parents aren't looking. The unspeakable horror. I forgot to talk about this earlier, but I do find it funny how every single bit of branding for the game uses the same exact pictures for the boys. Like, did Comedy Central not give you guys anything else to work with, or were the artists just lazy? Okay, so once I stop fiddling around with the sensitivity, the game begins. The first thing to note are the quote-unquote sweet environments the game has to offer. They're not bad so far, since the show's art style isn't really something that's suited to being translated into 3D. The devs did the best they could to recreate the town and its landmarks. The first sign of life in the town are some turkeys, followed by the other kids you didn't choose. The game makes you collect them, I don't know why. I theorized that they would act as extra lives, but they all share the same health, so who knows why they're there. The game starts to show a few cracks a little early. These cracks appear in the form of tank enemies. Tank enemies are stronger than the normal fodder, blocking health bars and the ability to spawn normal goons. But once they run out of babies to hatch, they'll make a beeline straight for the beginning of the stage instead of attacking the player. Which, trust me, this is going to get really annoying later when the levels get longer. Moments into the first level, you'll notice something strange occur. Can you hear it? Yeah, I can't either. The stage had music at the start, so where did it go? This isn't a glitch or a scratch on the CD either, because this happens in all versions of the game. The game is just leaving so many unanswered questions. Well, I'll answer a question you may have right now. The music, when it is playing anyway, is pretty alright. It was composed by Darren Mitchell. He was Iguana Entertainment's resident composer for a while. He worked on the Turok games and has done some freelance work for Middle Market Games. Which, not to offend this dude, but some tracks feel like something out of cheap Wii shovelware. A few levels later, you'll encounter the first boss of the game, this giant turkey cyborg which witnesses right on its ass. If all the porn I've watched is any indication, then I'd say this is a lot of people's weak spots. The boss doesn't really do much. He'll swipe at you if you get too close to his backside. Other than that, he's taken down very easily. Though he's not down and out yet. The following stage has you chase the boss down a little path all the way back to South Park. The boss doesn't really do anything once he gets there though, which all the signs that indicate how close you are to town make me think that there was more to this fight, but due to time was cut out. The boss in this stage will spawn tanks, which can get a little annoying if you're not paying attention and suddenly just get bunched around all over the place. It's not worth it to kill one either, because the boss will just spawn another tank immediately. Now I don't know if it's because I picked hard difficulty, but Jesus does this boss take forever to kill. To be fair, I wasn't using alt fire, which is a godsend by the way, more on that later, but I ran out of ammo for all my weapons and had to backtrack to scavenge for more. The fucking idiot got himself stuck on a wall though, so I guess I'm not the only stupid one here. Episode 2 begins, and yes, the levels are all Nick Doom style. The first mission tasks the player to eliminate all the tanks in this stage before they reach the start of the level. This time the enemies are clones. The stage has an end, but won't let you reach it until all the tanks in the level are disposed of. So, the stage's main mechanic is something that appeared in the first episode, but it makes more sense to talk about it here. Not defeating tanks in the stage doesn't seem like a big deal at first. All they do once they reach the start is just fly off into skybox space, right? Well, all the tanks you let escape you'll have to deal with in a penalty round, which happens in between stages. You'll have to defeat the escapees at the previous stage before they destroy the town. Besides wasting ammo on these guys, you'll get nothing for winning, and I have no clue what happens if you lose because the stages are way too easy to lose, even if you're only using snowballs. As a side note, all of the episodes in the game are based on episodes from the first season of South Park. The turkeys are from the episode Starvin' Marvin, the clones are based on the one from An Elephant Makes Love to a Pig, and so on and so forth. Combine this with all the other neat little details, like how the first time you have to go around and collect the other kids, they're running around right outside of where they live. and how some of the pickups are food items seen in the show. All of these details really make me think that the devs really love South Park and wanted to spread that love all over the game. Unfortunately, it doesn't feel like the love was spread to those sweet environments I mentioned earlier. While the town of South Park looks well done, the rest of the game looks a bit samey, mostly consisting of snow-covered mountain areas for most of the game. It does liven up a little bit in the third episode, with the last level taking place inside of an alien spaceship, but back on topic. The second boss resides at the South Park Museum of Natural History. Now this boss is a bit of a bitch for one reason and one reason only: his goddamn eyeball. While yes, this is a typical weak point for a boss in a video game, it stands out because the eyeball is very small and is covered by his eyelid half the time. You would think that this boss's only attack would make this fight easy, but it doesn't feel like my dodgeballs register half the time. The strat for this fight is no strat. You just gotta keep pelting his eye zone until you win, or he can get stuck on a tree. Is this seriously gonna keep happening? I mean, I know I'm just that good at being a gamer, but come on, these bosses should at least put up a fight. Episode 3 is a battle against aliens and cows. While the first half of the episode is nothing special, the second half made me baby gamer rage a little. Level 3 tasks you to enter the mothership. Alright, I killed some aliens and I made it. Huh? I made it, let me in, come on. Wait, why are the aliens coming back? Well, it's because this level was a defeat all enemies type affair. But there is a... Hold up one sec, let me put on my give up on my dreams and become a Let's Player hat. Ah, there we go. How the fuck was I supposed to know? The game never told me about this. The game should baby me around and not have me fight anything because the game is unfair. I mean, look at that! I died in the video game! That's bullshit! Okay, hat off. There is no aliens defeated count or anything, and the game wasn't very specific on what defeat the visitor guards meant. So I wandered around for a few minutes wondering whether or not I was wasting ammo, until I decided to look up a walkthrough that was like, yeah bro, this is what you gotta do, fam. There was also an issue with the enemies lacking sound effects sometimes, making it hard to tell where and when another alien is spawned. Also, my radar fucked up inversing the locations of the enemy. Once you defeat all the aliens, you'll get a key to enter the mothership. A fun fact, in the N64 version, the key is an actual key, whereas in the PC version it's this weird gooey thing. The level is very standard for the most part, the only trouble being with these blue-suited aliens who float around in circles, making them tough to hit. Luckily for me, I had a little help from our good old friend Mr. Hanky. He acts as a shield and negates any damage taken, while every other power-up in the game is terrible because it has a shorter time limit than goldfish have attention span. Mr. Hanky can last the entire stage because he is so tanky, making stages a breeze. The only downside is that he can block your shots sometimes, like a traitorous bastard. He's kind of OP and having more than one of them in some stages breaks them. While I got through mostly unscathed during level 4, the boss is a bitch and he sucks. The boss just sits there in the middle of the arena pulsating. After a bit, it shoots you with a lightning bolt that is undodgeable. The play is to wait at one of the pillars and shoot him before Blobachu over here could fire again. But his health bar is insane. I ran out of ammo for all my other weapons and he was almost at half. He had no health yet I died first. This is a good time to mention that the game has no checkpoints or quick save system whatsoever. As you can already tell, this is annoying when the stages become very long and dying makes you want to stop playing entirely. Because of this, I decided to cheat my way to the end of the stage. Just to hammer home how big his health bar really is, it took forever to kill this thing with what is essentially the game's rocket launcher.
Moments of calm, nothing left to be found. A mirror right in front of me, that's where I found. I never take pride.
Speaking of rocket launchers, let's talk about the weapons in the game. Once upon a time, the devs were going to put actual guns into the game, but due to school shootings being a thing, they took the guns out and gave the characters an arsenal more fitting of 8-year-olds, like snowballs, which is upgraded to dodgeballs, the toilet plunger launcher with reusable ammo, machine guns are replaced by the sponge dart gun, sniping is covered by the super sniper chicken, and explosives like grenades and RPGs are replaced with Terrence and Phillip dolls and the cow launcher. The one odd weapon is the warpo ray, which its main function shoots piranhas. Its secondary functions, the animal warper and the shrink ray, don't work in single player, but other alt-fires do. Some of the alt-fires, like the dodgeball and the sponge dart gun, will make you wonder why you're using normal fire in the first place. The dodgeball's ult does more damage at the cost of being slightly slower, and the dart gun's is a foam missile that does more damage than normal, has splash damage, and best of all, it takes only one bullet to use. The trade-off being that you'll have to charge it up. I believe it is one of the best guns in the game. Episode 4 is around the time when I felt the game was starting to drag. Episode 3 felt like the finale, but the game decided it wanted to keep going, so I pushed on for a little while longer. However, the tanks were starting to get on my nerves. I tried to let one get to the beginning of the stage so I could get on with the level, but the game required me to kill it, so I had to backtrack a fair bit just to kill it and move on. I eventually died, so I just gave up. While the game's South Park is flawed due to its overuse of spongy tank enemies, levels that drag because of said tanks, bosses that are no fun to fight against, the weird music issue, and a game that felt like it should have been over halfway through, it makes up for it with fan service. It's lovely to see stuff taken from the show shoved into the game, as either enemies, NPCs, or items. Though if you're looking for good South Park fan service, I would strongly suggest playing either one of Ubisoft's offerings. Would only recommend this game for diehard fans of the show, or if you were to find it around somewhere for an extremely cheap price. Now, you may be wondering what the counter you've been seeing is used for. Well, may I introduce you to the Wheel of Inconvenience? The number in the counter represents how many spaces will be on the wheel. More spaces means more punishments. Well, I've got a little secret. I may or may not have rigged my own wheel to be in my favor. Let's spin the wheel! God damn it! Let's rock out!